In this episode, we'll cover a systematic approach to reading chest x-rays, one of the most common investigations requested in medicine. The general principle with x-ray is that more dense structures such as bone will impede the x-ray and appear brighter, while less dense structures will appear dark, for example air. A common way to remember a systematic approach is the mnemonic Dr. ABCDEF. The D stands for details, which may sound trivial, but ensuring you have the correct patient is fundamental, and other elements to check here include the date of this x-ray, as well as any previous ones for comparison, as well as the indication for it. R stands for radiograph, where the quality of the image should be assessed before interpretation. And the mnemonic RIPE can help you remember how to do this. R is for rotation, where we look to see if the spinous processes are vertically aligned and are the medial ends of both clavicles equidistant from them. I is for inspiration. For best visualization, the X-ray is taken with adequate inspiration, indicated by visibility of the anterior first 5 to 7 ribs or 8 to 10 posterior ribs, as well as the lung apices, lateral rib edges, as well as the costophrenic angles. P is for projection, which is the direction from which the X-ray is travelled to create the image. This is important as it alters how the structures appear. The most common is posterior anterior, PA, where X-rays travel from the posterior to the anterior when the image is taken. Another option seen more commonly in hospitals is anterior posterior, AP, which can be done on patients sitting in a bed, for example, but does have some limitations. This projection will distort the size of some structures, such as the heart, making them look larger, and as such, features like the cardiothoracic ratio are not reliable from it. More on that later. E is then for exposure. This is essentially reviewing if the contrast of the image is adequate to interpret. An overexposed X-ray can be the result of excess radiation, making the image appear dark or burned out, while an underexposed X-ray will appear excessively white and noisy. The ideal amount will allow the thoracic vertebrae to be just visible behind the heart without bony details. Moving on to the A in our A to F approach, which stands for airway, where we review the trachea, the carina, which is essentially a cartilaginous structure where the trachea splits into the two main bronchi. The trachea should be central to the sternal notch, where it deviates right slightly around the aortic arch before splitting into the two main bronchi. Look for any deviation of the trachea, which may be due to it being pushed away from the affected lung, such as the case in tension pneumothorax, tumours, or pleural effusion, or it can be pulled towards the affected lung, such as atelectasis or pneumectomy. Note that rotation can lead to an appearance of a deviated trachea too. The bronchi should be traced looking for any evidence of intraluminal lesions or narrowing, and remember the right main bronchus tends to be wider and more vertical than the left, making it more likely for foreign bodies to enter. B is for breathing, where we evaluate the lungs and pleura. The lungs should include evaluation of the expansion and symmetry of the lungs generally, then divide each lung into 4 zones. The apices, above the clavicles, then upper, middle and lower. Note that these zones are not the same as lobes. Each zone should be reviewed individually and compared to the other side, looking for any evidence of asymmetry. Increased areas of opacity can indicate consolidation, which means filling of the alveoli or bronchioles with something other than air, for example pus in the case of pneumonia, fluid in pulmonary edema, or even blood. Some pathologies can cause more symmetrical changes like pulmonary edema, forming what is sometimes described as a bat's wing appearance, which can make them more difficult to appreciate. An area of increased opacity can also indicate tumours or nodules, atelectasis, meaning collapse of a lung or part of a lung, often appearing as opaque bands, and increased opacity can also be seen if there is interstitial lung disease, like pulmonary fibrosis. Be sure to also check the retrocardiac region, as this is a space behind the heart on chest X-ray, representing the left lower lobe, which can easily be overlooked and may require a lateral projection for better visualization. Lung markings should be visible as small grey lines radiating out from the centre of the chest, representing small pulmonary blood vessels. Absence of these suggests pneumothorax. Trace these markings all the way to the edges of the lungs, as pneumothorax can be subtle. Other markers that can resemble vasculature at the edge of the lung fields are curly B lines, typically in the lower zones at right angles to the lung edges, which represent thickening of the interstitial space, commonly by fluid in cases of pulmonary edema. Moving on to the pleura, they are not typically visible, and if they are visible, this suggests thickening, which is associated, for example, with chronic inflammation of the pleura, fluid, and potentially asbestos exposure or malignancy, such as mesothelioma. Then trace the lateral borders of the lung to the costophrenic angle. Blunting of this may be a manifestation of pleural effusion. Conditions such as hemothorax can also cause thickening opacity in the region of the pleural spaces. Moving on to C, which stands for cardiac or circulation, which involves the heart and systemic vessels. The heart is typically central, with approximately 1/3 to the right and 2/3 to the left of midline. The right border of the heart corresponds to the right atrium, while the left border is the left ventricle. The heart should make up less than 50% of the total thoracic width. This is the cardiothoracic ratio. Above this may suggest enlargement, termed cardiomegaly, seen in conditions such as heart failure, valvular disease, or even pericardial effusion. This is also an example of why we need to know if the X-ray was AP or PA, as the heart will appear larger in AP. If it is not labelled, it is typically PA. If the borders of the heart are not well defined, this may be a subtle sign of opacification in that region. This includes the border between the heart and diaphragm, called the cardiophrenic angles. The distal aortic arch can be seen as the aortic knuckle on the left lateral part of the aorta. Enlargement here may indicate an aneurysm. There is also the aortopulmonary window here, which is a space between the aortic knuckle and pulmonary arteries, which if lost could be due to mediastinal lymphadenopathy, for example due to malignancy. Widening of the mediastinum, which is the central compartment of the chest, made up of the contours of the borders of the heart, aorta, and hilar, can be due to tumours, for example of the esophagus or lymphoma, a thoracic aneurysm, or thymoma, typically with the superior mediastinum having a width of under 8 cm. As part of C, the hilar vessels and structures should also be checked. The hilar include the main pulmonary vasculature and major bronchi, as well as feature lymph nodes that are not typically visible on X-ray. The left hilum is often 1 to 2 cm higher than the right. Symmetrical enlargement of the hilar suggests processes such as sarcoidosis, while asymmetrical enlargement can be a manifestation of malignancy. Moving on to D, which is the diaphragm and below. Both hemidiaphragms should be roughly symmetrical, with the right being up to 2 cm higher than the left due to the presence of the liver. The liver and diaphragm are not usually distinguishable, and if there is visible separation, this suggests pneumoperitoneum, meaning free gas in the peritoneum, and further imaging such as CT is urgently required to identify any perforation. Sometimes this finding can be due to Chilaiditi syndrome, where the colon sits between the diaphragm and liver, but seeing this finding on an X-ray suggests a perforation until proven otherwise. Under the left hemidiaphragm sits the stomach, typically highlighted by the gastric bubble. A hiatus hernia, where the stomach herniates through the diaphragm, may be seen, and you may also be able to see renal or gallbladder calculi. E is for external. This includes reviewing each posterior rib on one side, then repeating on the other, before repeating with the lateral and anterior ribs, looking for any irregularities. Both clavicles and shoulder girdles are also checked. For example, this could reveal dislocation. Vertebral bodies are reviewed, with each level normally having 2 pedicles, an interlaminar space, and a spinous process. Assessing bones can reveal not only fractures, but also potentially lytic lesions. Soft tissue emphysema is also included here, which means air within the soft tissues. This can be seen as thin dark streaks and can be a clue to pneumothorax or pneumomediastinum, sometimes also being visible within the mediastinum itself. F is for foreign bodies. Check for foreign bodies either in the thorax, upper abdomen, or surrounding soft tissues, for example clips, devices such as implantable cardiac defibrillators or pacemaker, and tubes, for example a nasogastric tube, which, if correctly placed, should bisect the carina, travel below the diaphragm, and the tip should be seen at least 10 cm beyond the gastroesophageal junction in the stomach. We've mentioned them previously, but there are 4 areas that can be easily overlooked, therefore make sure these have been checked. The lung apices, the costophrenic angles, the cardiophrenic angles, and the retrocardiac region. Hopefully this has given a general understanding of an approach to chest X-ray interpretation. Of course, there are further nuances and intricacies, but this approach will cover the majority of chest X-ray interpretation.